Here.
Montescastillo.
Here.
McDonough.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
Ortega. Reinhardt.
Here.
Carter.
Here. Well, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have the agenda for January 21st. Is there a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank
Second.
you. Moved and seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Montescastillo.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes. And we have the minutes from January 7th presented for approval. Clerk, please call the roll.
Well, first you have to have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion?
Sure. I'll move it.
He told me to say, clerk, please call the roll. Whenever.
After everything.
There was a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Montescastillo.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes. And we have a proclamation for National Day of Racial Healing, Commissioner McDonough. Oh, thank you. And joining Commissioner McDonough at the front for this proclamation are Sarah Holly, Prince Corbett, and our Race Health Equity Administrators, Health, Wellness, Service Team, Racial Equity Action Team. Thank you.
Madam Chair, it's my honor on behalf of the board to read and present the proclamation today on racial healing. Whereas racism affects all of us, regardless of our backgrounds or circumstances, we are all living in a world born from historic injustices that have led to broken systems and divisions, where we do not know one another in our shared history. Whereas Ramsey County recognizes that there is a racial divide in our country, and we must all work earnestly to heal the wounds created by racial, ethnic, religious biases and build an equitable and just society so that all can thrive. And whereas Ramsey County recognizes that American descendants, African American slaves, American Indians, and other communities have the right to be provided every opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive in nurturing environments that don't violate their safety, dignity, and humanity. Whereas if we all dedicate ourselves to the principles of truth, racial healing, and transformation, we can all bring about the necessary changes in thinking and behavior that will propel Ramsey County forward as a unified force, where racial biases will become a thing of the past, where racial healing is vital and crucial, and where racial healing is a vital and crucial commitment to the educational, social, physical, mental, and overall well-being of the Ramsey County. And whereas Ramsey County commits to advancing racial equity and healing, where race can no longer be used to predict outcomes, and outcomes for all are improved. Therefore, be it proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners proclaims January 21st, 2020 as National Day of Racial Healing in Ramsey County in conjunction with others throughout the United States. And be it further proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners urges all communities in Ramsey County to promote racial healing and transformation in ways that are best suited for them individually as a means of working together to ensure the best quality of life for everyone in our community. And with that, I want to present the proclamation here to you folks, and I'm honored on behalf of the board to recognize this day of racial healing. We've got a lot to do, but we're going to do this work together.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner McDonough. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Ryan. First, I want to pay homage to our ancestors and the fact that we're standing on Dakota land. So I want to pay homage to that and recognize our history here in Ramsey County. I also want to say that this proclamation serves as a signifier that African American descendants of slaves and American Indians and other underrepresented communities deserve collective action and justice by Ramsey County to address the historical and current racial injustices that continue to perpetuate racial and ethnic disparities and outcomes that keep us from healing. We know that there can be no healing without justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Ryan. One of the things with restoring the histories of racial healing is to recognize, oftentimes we talk about historical trauma, but to recognize the resiliency of communities that have been traumatized because of race. So I just want to thank you all. And I'm not only proud to be a Ramsey County employee, but I'm proud to be a Ramsey County resident because of the work that you all are doing for racial equity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can everyone after the photo, I'd like everyone to introduce themselves. And you know, this is such a momentous occasion. I'd like to have all the commissioners come down front and let's take this photo together. It really does represent a momentous opportunity for Ramsey County to reflect our vision and goals. So please introduce yourselves and your affiliations with the work, the others who are up front, and then we'll all come down and join you.
Hi, I'm Brian Thine. I'm a manager in social services and family support, and I've been part of the county race equity team working with engagement and race equity assessment.
Thank you.
My name is Megan Johnson. I'm with the Public Health WIC program, and I've been working with the Racial Equity Action Team for a couple of years here.
Thank you.
My name is Susan O'Neill, and I represent an institute, a disability institute at the University of Minnesota, and I'm working collaboratively as a community member to support this.
Thank you.
And as you can see, we've got members of your team asking everybody who's a part of this work to come up. So please honor that request and come on up.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're going down.
See ya.
Laurel.
Please come and join us.
Yes, please. There's lots of room in front.
Yeah, we gotta get lucky.
Yep.
Don't block anyone.
And everybody be seen.
Thank you.
Commissioner McDonough has the administrative agenda.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll move item 6, item 7, item 8, item 9,
Pull.
item 10, item 11,
Pull.
item 12,
Pull.
Is there a second? Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second on those items not pulled. Clerk, please call the roll.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire. Aye. Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Mas Castillo,
Aye.
Carter,
Yes. Item number 9,
I'd move approval.
Second.
moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
No, I pulled it.
I'm sorry, moved and seconded. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've been talking a lot, especially today, about racial equity, and I just really was impressed with the racial equity impact and service delivery on this particular item, because oftentimes we don't think about, quite frankly, the suburbs as being racially diverse or being used by different religions, races, ethnic backgrounds. And so when I read this, it just jumped out at me because Long Lake Regional Park is in high demand, and it states that group reservations at the current pavilion represent the Muslim, Hmong, Karen, Tibetan, Jewish, Chinese, Vietnamese, Hispanic communities, including groups from different churches and different religions, and the Hmong Senior Center, which I just had the opportunity to visit not too long ago. Anyhow, I was so impressed with this, and I think we need to call it out because sometimes we don't, especially in a public setting like this, we don't do enough of reinforcing what we really are doing, that we are walking the talk, not just saying that this is, okay, this is fine. It's a pavilion. You wouldn't necessarily think of that as something that deals with racial equity. It clearly does. And you'll find that when I get to the next one, I'm going to be talking about that again. But that's how come I wanted to pull it, and I think it's important that we do that, especially when we see something that is this diverse. And the community outreach, everything that's being done here is exactly what we need to do and what we have been doing on other items as well.
Thank you. And it does reflect, as our form allows in our board meetings, as we are approving items, it does reflect the attention to which our teams are paying to this particular area of the form, to call out, as we have not done, as you've said, the impact and the engagement of those communities in particular that have not typically been reflected throughout history. So that is the tone of what we are doing today and all of our work. Thank you for mentioning it, Commissioner Reinhardt.
And Madam Chair, thank you. I appreciate Commissioner Reinhardt calling this out. This is a project that the New Brighton community is really appreciative of because they've been great partners in this with the Lions Club and New Brighton. You know, they have land there too, and so we're coordinating with them, and it's just been a great project to really work with all of our diverse communities, but also at all levels of government and as we know, the nonprofit, the civic organizations, as in the Lions too. So it's a great coordinated effort.
Yes.
Thank you for your comments. So now, we've moved and seconded this item. Please call the roll.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Mas Castillo.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. And number 11.
I'd move approval. Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Again, I wanted to call this out. It's the single source agreement with the Center for Economic Inclusion for Equity and Strategic Advisory Services. And there were a number of things, again, within this that really drew my attention. But I do think the fact that it states very clearly, the Center for Economic Inclusion is the nation's first organization devoted exclusively to advancing inclusive growth to achieve regional prosperity. And I think that, again, we're walking the talk, and I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your mention again. Clerk, please call the roll.
McDonough.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Fretham.
Aye.
Mas Castillo.
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Item number 12.
Yes, I'd like to move item number 12, the Ramsey County Investment in NOAA 2 Impact Funds for Greater Minnesota Housing
Second.
Fund.
Thank you. Commissioner Matis-Castillo.
Yes, I wanted to pull this because this is a new investment for Ramsey County and participating with the Greater Minnesota Housing Fund. This is something that we all worked on together at a workshop last year, and staff moved really quickly to make this happen. And so I just wanted to call that out, that we are moving ahead with investing in the preservation of affordable housing, and just to thank staff for their work and effort on this to move it pretty quickly. And so with that, I'm excited to move this item.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also want to, I'm very excited about this being here today. When we look at homelessness, when we look at housing and affordable housing, we really need to look at the entire spectrum, and that's what this does. It partners with another organization in order to do that. And so I'm really pleased that we were able to do this. And as I pointed out at the League of Women Voters last week, Commissioner Matis-Castillo was really a champion for this, and I thank her for bringing it forward. Along with, we all are really on board with this. I know that, otherwise it wouldn't be here. But she really was a champion in bringing this forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
McDonough?
Aye.
McGuire?
Aye.
Ortega?
Aye.
Reinhardt?
Aye.
Fretham?
Aye.
Matis-Castillo?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye. Thank you very much. I'd like to turn to our county manager for County Connections.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, 3 updates for you today to follow up on our proclamation. I just wanted to call out that Sarah Holly, who spoke earlier and so eloquently, will be serving as a guest columnist for this week's column, previewing Black History Month, which we talked about a little bit last month, and again, recognizing the work today from the board around the proclamation on the Racial Day of Healing. So I wanted to call that out for you. Secondly, with the Ice Castles attraction is now open at Long Lake Regional Park. So we'll talk about Long Lake Regional Park a second time. And I want to do a shout out to Parks and Rec staff, specifically Chris Lankowski, the Director of Operations for Parks and Trails, for all of his work in this space and all the work they've collectively done to bring this award-winning frozen attraction to Ramsey County. In writing this and thinking through different announcements today, it got me looking at the Ice Castle site again, and I can assure you that the little O'Connor boys will be going with Dad soon to go see the Ice Castles. It looks like a blast. I'll promise to report back in our upcoming meetings. And finally, I wanted to pause and announce Ramsey County's next Chief Financial Officer with all of you. I was able to share it in a message this morning, but wanted to share it while I'm here as well. Alexandra Kutza has been named Ramsey County's Chief Financial Officer and Director of Finance. She'll begin working in the role on March 2nd. She has deep experience and knowledge of county government and public sector finance, particularly in the highly specialized area of health and human services, which we know drives a significant portion of Ramsey County's budget, and I believe will benefit our organization and community greatly. She'll lead a team of 40, and you know this, but I just like to restate the finance department: annual budgeting, accounting, financial management, investment management, debt financing, procurement, payroll, risk management, enterprise resource management, and audit coordination. And our biennial budget is $1.5 billion, to give you a sense. She succeeds Lee Merkins, who's been in the role for a decade of distinguished service and is retiring. And we'll get a chance to send him off well in the coming weeks as we go. Prior to coming to Ramsey County, Ms. Kutza served as the CFO at the Minnesota Department of Human Services since October of 2013, where she led a team of 150, overseeing an $18 billion annual operating budget. Prior to this appointment, she was in fiscal and budgetary management roles at Milwaukee County in Wisconsin. So comes from that county experience with the human services piece. And she began her career as a family connection worker here in St. Paul. She has a master's degree from Harris School at the University of Chicago in public policy, a bachelor's degree from the University of Minnesota. She was a 2018 CFO of the Year. So we've had the incoming 2018 CFO of the Year, and the outgoing 2019 CFO of the Year from the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal in the government section. And she lives in St. Paul with her husband and 2 daughters, and I can tell you is very excited to join the Ramsey County team. So thank you for letting me share that exciting announcement. I look forward to introducing her to you and the entire organization and community in the weeks to come.
Good job. Thank you very much. And so we'll start our board commissioners' updates with Commissioner McDonough.
No report.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Number of meetings going on last week, and I just want to start out by talking a little bit about our, we have a school district, excuse me, the Roseville School District 623. The superintendent, I've mentioned this before, has quarterly meetings and invites all of the local elected officials, city council, school board, legislators, county commissioners, Met council members, which is a great gathering. And we met at Central Park School, which is, you know, in the Roseville area. And it was just really interesting. It is the school that has the most diversity and the most reduced lunches in our area. And it was really sobering because we actually got on the topic of homelessness and kids that don't have a home to go to. And she said 25 students in that school, this is a grade school, will be unsheltered, will be homeless. They may be sheltered, but they'll be homeless that evening. They speak 21 home languages in that school. And they have the largest population in the Roseville School District that is dependent on reduced lunches. So, and 75 to 95 kids will need food for the weekend. This is in our own, county. This is in our suburban counties. It's part of our suburban area. And so we know that we have a lot of needs in our community. They are doing a lot of good work in that school to address these issues and really to help make sure that these kids have the food and the shelter that they need. But it's just a reminder to all of us of the great needs that we do have. And it was a great meeting to get together and really talk about these really important issues. And the principal of the school is very well aware, and they really appreciate their community partners, which includes, excuse me, the county, the churches, and the community for all of their work. So I just wanted to mention that we are have a lot of things to work on, as we know. Our next meeting will be at the Roseville Area High School. They did pass their bond referendum, so we're actually viewing a lot of the facilities that have been upgraded, so that's a great thing. Also that day, the Transportation Advisory Board met, and that is our board of the Met Council that deals with transportation issues. We hear a lot of great reports. I wish everyone could hear all of them. One of the ones we heard was on Public Transit and Human Services Transportation Coordinated Plan. And this deals with the safety issues, and they were telling us about some of the things that they're doing to help make sure our transit is safe, and they're going to use live video and paid ambassadors, they're calling them, so that people will be on our transit system. That's our buses and our light rail. We also hear reports from other partners in that group, which is like the Pollution Control Agency, and some of you may know about this, but this was really fun to hear. The PCA reported that they have a Minnesota Green Corps, and that is people newly entering the Job Corps for jobs in the sustainability area. So the PCA has job openings, or has job opportunities for young people entering the job market, or anyone entering that want to work in the sustainability area, which I think is really exciting. Also, the Metropolitan Airports Commission reported that the Armed Forces Service Center is twice the size now, and it is actually in the secure area of the airport, so that it really can provide those services for our armed forces. So that was exciting. And we all know, but just for the viewing public, of course, they reported Charlie Zelli is the new chair of the Met Council. We'll be hearing from him hopefully at our next meeting. So that was our Transportation Advisory Committee meeting. Then the Library Board met on Wednesday evening, and we have been just continuing to work. We're working on our bylaws and Library Board roles. We heard from the state librarian, and she reported on what the roles of the Library Board are. So we're working on that. And we elected Sylvia Neblett as our new chair of our Library Board. So that's good. Then I just want to mention a few other things. We've talked a little bit about our, Commissioner Reinhardt mentioned it. We did have our League of Women Voters conversation with constituents that a number of us were able to be at, and it was always great to talk to our League of Women Voters and to be with my colleagues on a panel. And they had a county commissioner panelist and a city mayor panel, and then a legislator panel. So we got to do conversations with the constituents tonight. The same thing will be happening in New Brighton. So I'll be in a panel with a Metropolitan Council member, a school board member, and myself, and then our legislators. So with that, Madam Chair, I'm excited about the ice castles opening at Long Lake Regional Park. I was going to mention that, but it's already been mentioned.
Yay.
So New Brighton is happy about
I'm
that.
sure you were there.
I was not there, but
Okay,
I
you
will be
will be.
going. I will be going there. It's over, a series of weekends. So.
Commissioner Ortega. Thank you. Commissioner Fretham.
Excellent. I unfortunately had to miss the League of Women Voters event because I was seated on the board of the Community Action Partnership for Ramsey, Washington County, and it was very exciting. We got to spend the first meeting talking about expanding access to full-day programming, especially for 3-year-olds to meet the high demand here in Ramsey and Washington counties. Yesterday, I got to stop by the Martin Luther King Day celebration over at the Ordway. It was packed. I was in the overflow seating on the floor in the back for about an hour. But great speakers and great celebration. It was fun to see all the kids there. And also, I got to join Mary Jo at the Central Park Elementary, and the one thing you didn't mention is we were in their really cool STEAM lab, and they had 3D printers, and they were talking about how well prepared all the students are coming out of Central Park Elementary into the middle school to work in engineering and other type of activities. Coming up on Thursday, Ramsey County Parks is hosting a public meeting to discuss changes in the Snail Lake Park to build for resiliency. So an important opportunity to talk about just specifically how we can work on Snail Lake Park, and we are putting together, and hopefully we'll get to talk about release in the next week or so, a larger meeting to talk about the flooding that we're seeing up in District 1 and the root causes of it and plans for what it would take to really address those issues going forward. And then looking forward to Saturday is the library party as the kindergartners get their library cards. I'm super excited to go and get to hand out some library cards. So that's all I've got.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Well, the League of Women Voters has been mentioned, and it was really a lively discussion. It's such a good event. One of the things that was brought up, that we brought up, was the census, which the Complete Count Committee with St. Paul and Ramsey County is meeting this evening. Anyhow, talking about all parts of the census. Clearly, the representation is very important, but also the economic impact on our state and why everyone should really make sure that they do their very best to get the message out that we need to count everyone. We all matter, and everybody counts, and that's all there is to it. Also, I was able to vote on Friday, January 17th, because that was the first day of early voting for the presidential primary, and there were lots of folks there. It was really a nice event. This is the first time we've done it, not the early voting, but the presidential primary, for as long as I can remember. How maybe we did it in the past, I don't know. But anyhow, and most of you probably know that actually the NACO legislative conference is going to be over the time that we have that the actual voting takes place here. But anyhow, it was a fun, I don't know if event is the right word or not, but it was fun to be there with people that were excited to vote, and I loved the coverage that was in the newspaper. So it was great. So just letting everybody know that you can vote now and for the presidential primary. Also, the state of the city of Maplewood. They have this event every year, and Maplewood is the largest suburb in our county, A lot of people think it's Roseville, but it's not. It's Maplewood. And it's the most oddly shaped city ever, anywhere, I think. But anyhow, Mayor Mary Lee Abrams gave the state of the city, and it was really interesting looking at economic development and equity issues, whether it was in the schools or in housing, all of the things that we hold near and dear as well, including the revitalization kind of pre-planning, and a lot of things have already happened regarding Maplewood Mall and how that's going to serve us into the future. And so there's some exciting things going on there, and I just wanted to do a shout out to Maplewood for all of the work that they are doing.
Thank you.
Great.
Commissioner Matasio.
So I'll brief by exception because lots of things have already been covered. But I just want to say yesterday I got the opportunity to join Judge Hilgers at our juvenile detention center and celebrate the events there with staff and the youth that are currently at the detention center. We had a special treat with music from Melvin Carter #2 and Anthony Galloway and the Sons of Levi with a great history lesson on Black music and celebration, and then awards for a poster contest that the youth participated in around Martin Luther King. So it was a really great event and really an honor to participate, and that was their 3rd annual event. So they do remote sites, and so it was a very good experience. So just wanted to say good job to the staff who put that on, and great music as well. I did record it if anyone wants to see it. It's very good. I also just wanted to mention, no one said anything about the governor's bonding bill, but I just wanted to lift it up because I was really excited. Not all of our projects obviously were included. There's some really important work that we still have to do moving forward, but it was nice to see that some of our projects were included, to include our snowmaking machine that we've been talking about for a very long time at Battle Creek Park, funding for our recycling and energy center and organics expansion, which we know is very important to us, the full support for Gibbs Farm and their year-round facility, as well as my favorite, the second train to Chicago, fully funded in the governor's proposal, which is the first time that the governor has included that. So just wanted to thank him for that. We have lots more work to go and some other big projects that weren't included. But also, some of our communities got some really important projects, like the Roseville Oval was included, as well as a community center in Falcon Heights, a new park facility building, Victoria Theater, Como Park, so other things throughout the community as well. So just wanted to mention that. And then also wanted to mention that I serve on the Land Use Advisory Committee of the Met Council, and we approved the 2020 work plan, but we also had a long discussion about determining affordable housing and life cycle housing goals into the future. These goals are set for 10 years, and funding is based on those goals. And so really having a robust conversation of how do we set those goals for the region, how do we go further and have more requirements about integrated affordable housing and developments, and how we use that funding. And so it was just really heartening to see that there's representatives from across the entire region, much of our rural and suburban counties as well, that are really thinking like we got to do more, and how do we do this and improve those plans, and by looking back to see what we've accomplished and where we can go. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for your work in your districts and throughout the county. I'd like to update briefly also just on a few things, and so much has already been covered. I'll start with having been able to attend the celebration and investiture, which is the name of the event, for Honorable Jeffrey Bryan, who has been a judge here at Ramsey County and will now be serving on the State Court of Appeals. He, together with Susan Segal, the Honorable Susan Segal, who has served most recently as attorney in Minneapolis, were both a part of the investiture, and it was a great event. I want to thank Judge Bryan for the work that he has done with all of us here at Ramsey County, in particular for his leadership in the Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative, where he has served as one of the tri-chairs, together with I and members of our community, together with me, That would be the right way to say that. So thank you to Judge Bryan. I also had the opportunity yesterday to participate in a couple of the Dr. MLK celebrations. First of all, at the breakfast in Minneapolis, where Eric Holder was the guest speaker. And as you all know, Eric was recently our Attorney General and is quite relevant in this day and time. It was great to hear from him. I also attended the Martin Luther King Governor's event, which was at the Ordway. We didn't run into each other there, but it was a momentous occasion, and I must mention that the guest speaker there is a young woman whose name is Yara Shahidi. And Yara is one of the actors on Blackish, which is a series that is currently airing. I have her picture. She's just a beautiful young lady, so I'll certainly pass this around as a part of the program. Yara, I found out, is also from the Twin Cities. So it was wonderful to have her there. Now, I don't watch all of the series, so I don't know everything about who is there. But as a young leader and activist from this area, it was wonderful to have her there as a representative and also as an emblem of progress through the eyes of young folks. So, with that, I'll mention that we have upcoming an HRA meeting, our Housing Redevelopment Authority, that will be chaired by Commissioner Mattis Castillo immediately after this meeting, and our Board of Commissioners meeting is now adjourned.